Hi, I'm Dena and Lee. Today we're going to look at the budget debacle, a case study. For the purposes of this case study, I'll be speaking in the terms that I am the Briardell Elementary School principal, Principal Santos. So our school is 600 students. It's K-5. We also utilize an area of our building as a community center, and there are a lot of community events that take place here within our building. Evening times when school's not in session, other times when school is in session. And we also have the support of the Briardell Foundation. This year's president is Mr. Barely, and he is new to the organization. He's a graduate of Harvard, and he's new to the community as well. Some concerns that we have, district-wide, our school has 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school. We are known for our football teams and our winning performances. We do have very little turnover of our staff due to the community, and everybody likes us. Our district superintendent sets our funding for the schools, and additionally we have the Briardell Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, and they raise funds for our art, music, foreign language, so our exploratory classes is how I would call them. And then we also have a curriculum site committee that is within the district, and the lead teacher of that is one of our very own teachers, and I'm really quite proud of that. So Mr. Barely is new to our foundation and our community, and he is the president. I did some training with him, and he also did some training with another president of an organization who he knew from college, Mr. Morley. Myself as Principal Santos spent some time with him and did some training to inform him what his responsibility was and how he's to meet with the curriculum committee. Mr. Barely did propose having a raffle for cash for the foundation, and it was set to make a large amount of money. However, the day that the raffle was supposed to happen, as the community gathered, there was an anonymous tip to the sheriff's office, and it led to the arrest of Mr. Barely, and he was convicted of a misdemeanor and placed on probation due to the raffling of cash funds. And myself as the principal, I am very embarrassed of those happenings and the fact that our school made the news for a negative occurrence, a negative activity. So let's look at some of the legal and ethical issues that were faced with this situation. The raffle for cash, if you look at the Wichita Public Schools policies, is a prohibited item. That's policy 1410A. Anytime that you raffle for cash, that is prohibited, whether it is by students or adults or staff members. And the other thing, the district and the principal, myself, or the Briardell Foundation could be sued due to the foundation not being run separate from the school organization, because a foundation, according to Gilsbach, should be run separately and should offer things like scholarship and some school needs, not necessarily the curriculum for all of the exploratory classes. Some ethical issues that have come out of this is the school raising most funds has the larger voice with the curriculum with our superintendent, and there's no clear plan on how those funds should be dispersed. Barrett offered a per pupil funding finance method, and with that, some of the schools like ours that are smaller with only the 600 students could end up with more funding than what we do at our current funding, and we'll touch base on with that again here in a second. How the superintendent has things set up, it creates competition between the schools to come up with, whoever has the most funds that they are donating kind of has a bigger say, like I had said before. And then the disbursement of that monies, does it match the school's foundation and vision statement? For example, in the summary section of the piece, that I rubber stamp whatever the foundation says that they want to purchase for the curriculum, and that's not necessarily match the vision of the school, because I want to keep people happy to make, so we can get this money. So as a quick summary of what's going on is the Briardale Foundation that supports the exploratory curriculum at Briardale Elementary School has suffered financially, legally, and ethically because of the raffle proposed by the new foundational president, Mr. Barely. What was some of the information that is missing from this, so we can make clear-cut decision making and try to move on out of this debacle to make sure that everything is okay? Did myself, as the school principal, Mr. Santos, did I participate in the foundation meetings? Did I know about the raffle ahead of time and went ahead with it, knowing that it wasn't a part of our policies that we could do? Did I provide training for Mr. Barely as the foundation president? Did he receive the correct training that he needed? Or did we just rubber stamp it with the time spent with me and Mr. Morley that he received some help and support for? Did he ever attend the district level trainings for foundation presidents that is offered every year? Who was the tipster? Not that it really matters, but in a way it does, because there is a back history between Mr. Barely and Mr. Morley because of what they'd experienced while they were in college. One of them was Mr. Morley was the president of a student organization, and Mr. Barely wanted to run against him, and Mr. Barely lost. So was our tipster Mr. Morley, and is it ethically okay that he's letting this grudge from way back when control some things? I'm not saying that the raffle was appropriate. I'm just saying, is that the kind of person we want in charge? What are we missing? We don't know if the school is a rural or suburban school, because that would impact some of the financial aspects of the school. And we don't know if the school receives any rental reimbursement for the community events that are being held at the school. And I say that because all of the community uses it, not just a neighborhood or an area or just the school uses it. Other schools use it as well. And that is a way to recoup some financial services for the school if they get some reimbursement for that. About the program information that we don't know. So we don't know if myself as the principal approved the fundraiser, and we don't know what the funding guidelines are for the school. Do they have that per pupil funding, or do they do just the flat rate funding? What kind of funding is available to the Briarland School, so that we understand and are able to project our future monies each year and be able to make fiscal decisions ahead of time. So what now? What do we do? I need to prioritize and review the information that I know so far. What I know is the school is tied to an illegal fundraising campaign. There's been conflict between the two presidents, Mr. Morley and Mr. Barely. Staff and students have been impacted due to the loss of funding, because when the raffle was stopped and everything happened, we also had to return all of the money. So we weren't able to keep the money, and we didn't get the money that we are expected every year. Does Mr. Santos, the principal, myself, have a clear school funding understanding? I should have known that funding that having that raffle couldn't happen. I also need to understand that the foundation shouldn't be making curriculum decisions for our school just to go ahead and get the money for it. And then, do I know enough to make a decision about what to do to move forward. Do I need to find information somewhere? So I want to talk with staff, parents, communities, and students to see what kind of extracurricular or exploratory classes that they want. And I'll do that by creating an evaluation tool and send that out and let them tell us the kind of exploratory classes that they want to offer, as opposed to major contributors to the Briarland Foundation. I want to be able to identify barriers, because our current process right now, the school that raises the most money has the largest voice within the district, and I want to make sure that there's equal opportunity for each classroom, for each building. So that's why I want to propose that per pupil funding piece, because we want to make sure that each school, and especially elementary schools, look the same. So here's what I'm proposing that we're going to do. Option one, I'm going to just pretend that nothing happened and just continue running the school and hoping that everything's okay. Option two is I want to propose new funding with the per pupil funding metric, so that we'll be able to define what each school is going to be able to get. For example, my school has 600 students, and let's say that the state gives us $3,000 per student, and so with my 600 students, that means that I will have $1,800,000 as my budget for the school year. With that, I'm able to take out all of the curriculum needs, staffing needs, and then supply needs, and see where we go from there. I want to make sure that all funds that are raised, is what I want to propose, all funds that are raised at the elementary level be divided amongst the elementary schools. Because our district has 6 elementary schools, if can create just a full PTA, PTO, or foundation for all of the elementary schools, and just divide those funds, because we are a smaller community, and that way everybody gets a piece of the pie, rather than one school in a more affluent community having more money than the other. I want to gather more information for my survey and be able to make the 7 steps for decisions. I want to see what curriculum all these schools have, because maybe what is at the school that Mr. Morley is a part of, maybe his school has some different curriculum than I do, and we could share and swap, as opposed to needing to buy new curriculum, because we're all part of the same district. I would propose a new way to have a curriculum board, as opposed to just having some staff members from one building. I would propose that it's district level and district run, with representatives from each of the 6 elementary buildings, and the 2 middle school buildings, and the high school building, parents, and a few community members to be a part of that. And then, as the principal, I need to admit that I made a mistake. Even, I don't know if we supported it, but right now I'm going to make the assumption that I did, that I supported this, and I want to show that there's a true behavior change, and that the community can trust me as a leader still. So as a plan for moving forward, what I'm going to do is what's best for our students. Do we need to keep a foundation, or do we need to run a PTA or PTO organization? Because a PTA and PTO have more leverage when they're able to use monies. And I'm going to pause it here, and we'll start with a number 2.